Many people don't know that vehicles repaired at insurance discount body shops have a shoddy or unsafe repair record, up to 90%. Your insurance company owes you the cost to re-repair the bad repairs at shops they recommend. Did you know Leif's is the largest re-repair body shop in the Northwest? If you use an insurance-recommended body shop, call us and get it inspected. Your safety and your vehicle's trade-in value may be seriously compromised. Another reason we never got in bed with insurers. Leif's, always on your side.
Hey, Rip City, Chad doing here for my friends at Goldberg Jones Divorce from in 1-800-DIVORCE. If you're facing a divorce or custody issue, you need a team of attorneys that specialize in divorce. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. I understand the fear of facing divorce, the unknown. Here's the game plan for you. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. Call and we'll answer all of your questions at no charge and get you started in the right direction. And if you're planning on getting married, Goldberg Jones specializes in prenuptial agreements. If you're facing a divorce, custody issue, or need a prenuptial agreement, call the team at Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE, or check them out online at goldbergjones-or.com.
Did you get thick wool socks for Christmas?
It's a darn good sign your house is drafty.
Do you know your home's air leakage number?
For $179, Revival will lug over our Jet Revive 3000 blast fan,
Creating a suction in your home that will suck your socks off. Thermal cameras will pinpoint exactly where cold air is wisping up your walls.
Our proprietary heat loss calculator will give you your air leakage number.
Sealing up your drafts is your first step in home comfort.
Find out your air leakage number.
Log on to callrevival.com
and revive your home's comfort.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car right in your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
It's January again, and that means we're all rethinking our food choices.
haven't been so pretty. They lost 131 to 120, and they lost 125 to 112 earlier in the year. And so we'll talk about those a little bit. Of course, we'll get to our keys to the game and all of that. But you can't talk about the game ahead without talking about the game that was. And that is the game that was played just a few days ago against the Phoenix Suns down in Phoenix, where the Blazers offense, which had kind of started to click, it started to look good, did not look good against the Suns, only able to put up 88 points in that one. The second quarter, they scored just 18 points. The third quarter, they scored just 14, eerily reminiscent of a few games ago when Chauncey Billups said, yeah, I didn't think we were going to get 10 points in the first quarter when they only scored 14. So offense has its woes. The plus side was you did get to see Shaedon Sharpe back in the lineup. Did appear he was on a minutes restriction. And as we look at this one, we may be getting Duop Reith and Anthony Simons back. We'll keep you posted as we get any updates on the health front. But in that game against the Suns, it was rough. I mean, defensively, maybe you can say things looked a little bit better, right? I mean, you held a good Suns team to 109, and then you're like, well, did you? Because they didn't have Kevin Durant, and he is a certified bucket. A bucket, as the kids say. He goes out there, and he just drops jump shots like they're going out of style, and he's impossible to guard. And in this one, it was Bradley Beal, who's finally starting to get things going with Phoenix. He had 21 points. Devin Booker only chipped in 10 on 4 of 16 shooting, but they didn't need him because quick math tells me, let's see, 2 bench players plus all 5 starters. That's 7 players in double figures for the Phoenix Suns, again, led by that 21 of Bradley Beal, and a good 18.7 rebound, 5 assist, 2 block performance from former Trailblazer Yusuf Nurkic as well. And the Blazers, health is an issue, of course. I mean, when is it not with the Trailblazers, right? But DeAndre Ayton was not available for that one. Duop Reith has been dealing with a low back injury. Looks like just like a little tweak, so he'll hopefully maybe be back tonight. Again, we'll get you updates on the health earlier, but they're rolling out Moses Brown and Aju Baji, who, no disrespect to either of them. I mean, Baji played 23 minutes, and for what they're asking him to do with his limited experience, he's doing quite well. He's doing quite well, but this is also a two-way guy, right? And Moses Brown, he's playing well. At least he's rebounding well. He's not a scorer. He doesn't put up shots, and he doesn't make a lot of buckets. But at the same time, he's getting the Noah Vonleh treatment, right? We all remember Noah Vonleh being the starting power forward for this team to go play 14 minutes a night while everyone else got the large chunk of the minutes. It was just to keep the rotation intact. Well, Moses Brown is only playing about 15 minutes a night. He had 16, in fact, against the Suns. And the overall performance-wise wasn't a big, like I said, scoring output from this team. 88 points total, led by Scoot Henderson, who had 17 total, 7 of 18 shooting on this one. Did chip in 6 assists, which is nice to see. You would like to get those shooting numbers up just a little bit for him. But when Scoot leads the way with 17 and no one else is pouring on the 20-plussers, and you only have, 3-4 players in double figures, it's going to be a long night. It absolutely is. So in this one, again, Scoot Henderson led the way, followed by Jeremy Grant, who had 15 and 3 assists, but only 1 rebound after a season-high 10 rebound game. So you would like to see that one buoy back, right? Hit the boards, Jeremy, because you proved in one night that you can do it. Now do it again. Malcolm Brogdon, he had 10 points and 5 assists. And then off the bench, Jabari Walker, the only bench player in double figures with 10. Again, Shaedon Sharpe did return to the lineup. He only had 6 points on 2 of 8 shooting. And Blazers, again, the injury bug, when is it not a thing? Is like, can we knock on wood? Like, hopefully I hit the 2x4 and not just the plaster. I actually knocked on some wood, because the injury bug's rearing its ugly head again. Anthony Simons out with an illness. Shaedon Sharpe was out while he was dealing with an injury. Duop Reith goes out and has a huge 25-point performance. Everyone falls in love with him. Then the injury bug bites him, and he's out. And so it's just like, Here we go again. And then leading up to this one, Tamani Kamara is out. And so it's just like, oh my gosh, can you catch a break? As an organization, can you catch a break? And that is tough to do if you're the Trailblazers. And then you have to overcome everything that is already being thrown at you, right? So you have injuries, and then you have lineup changes, and then you have, now we got to go face Devin Booker, right? Now we got to go face Luka Doncic, who quick math told me is averaging 36 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists in his 2 games against the Blazers this year. So that's going to be an absolute chore to bottle him up. He is top 5 in scoring, top 5 in the league in assists as well. So it's going to be tough for him. And again, last we heard injury-wise was yesterday. We should be getting our latest reports here before the show's done. The only person who was officially ruled out yesterday, not named Robert Williams, was DeAndre Ayton, as he's dealing with right knee tendonitis. The center position, as we've talked about, already thin. Moses Brown listed as questionable. Tamani Kamara listed as questionable. Duop Reith listed as questionable. Anthony Simons listed as questionable. So there is your update there health-wise. And we'll see where it goes. But again, injuries, they are a thing. Sometimes they just can't get out of the way. As the Fritz points out in the chat, 8 games from the halfway point. That was a quick halfway through the season, was it not? It's felt long, but it's felt short all at the same time. I have found it to be fun because there's a lot for us to look at and analyze and see what's going on. But the win-loss record, if that's your main thing that you're focusing on, it has been not so fun. Absolutely. And if you're wondering what I mean when I said Fritz said 8 games from the halfway point, that is the YouTube chat. That's the YouTube chat. We keep pumping it out here, let you guys know that we are on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and Blazers Gameday will pop up. We are live on YouTube, so you can come in and join the chat. And you get guys like Fritz and Lisa's in there, and Rachel will join, and everyone else who loves to get on and get the chat. So I love it. And also, apparently, the chat was left on. So I got to get all my producers to understand how to turn the stream all the way off. You can't just turn the camera stream off. You got to go into YouTube Studio, make sure you end stream. Otherwise, the chat's going to be up there all day. Maybe that's a good thing, though, Fritz. Maybe that's just a way for everyone to just talk to each other all day long. I think it's a smart play. All right, now let's go back to this Phoenix game for a second, and let's hear some audio here. We're going to listen to Coach Billups a little bit later in the show, but we're going to hear him right now as well. And Scoot Henderson will come up to talk about his game. What's the Scoot coming up next? But this is what Coach Billups had to say following that loss to the Suns.
I thought we had a really good first quarter. We came out with our intentions were great. We were focused on our game plan on both sides of the ball. We did a good job. We took care of the ball. One turnover in the first quarter, I thought it was amazing because our prior game, we had 8 turnovers in the first quarter, and they got out 36-20 on us. So, boom, we rectified that, and then second quarter happened. We had 8 turnovers in the quarter. They jumped out on us 35-18 in that quarter, and, we didn't have enough. We couldn't score. It was tough for us to score.
Yeah, it was tough for them to score, and then tough for them to hold on to the ball. As he points out, it's like, okay, we had 1 turnover in the first quarter. That's good. What's bad is the rest of the way they had 17, which is more than the Suns had the entire game. They had just 16 for the entire game. So when you had an 18 turnover an 18 turnover game, and you still had a quarter where you only gave away 1, that's still not great ball control. It's good to see it for 1 quarter, but you want to see it for all 4. Heck, you want to see it for 3, because if you take care of the ball for 3, odds are you're not going to have more turnovers in that 1 quarter to outweigh all the other 3. It's got to be a consistent thing. And then the offense has got to find ways to not stagnate, because it absolutely does. Like it has moments where it looks good and everything's moving. You're like, I see what they're doing. I see what they're building. And then it has the offenses that we've all hate that we've seen before where it's like, oh, look at how 4 guys can just stand still and watch one guy dribble with the ball. So you just got to figure those things out, man. Keep the ball moving. Keep the ball moving. And might be my key to the game tonight. It might be my key to the game every single night until I see it happen on a more consistent basis. I think this team needs to get out and run more, guys. I absolutely do. I think they're at their best when they're in motion and they're moving. I think that's when Scoot looks really good. Out in motion. Get him going. Use those skills. That's how I thought they beat Sacramento, was with their team speed and beating them at their own game. Fast break points. I love it. That's what I love. I want to see it. Get out there, beat them in the fast break. Have fun while doing it, of course, because you absolutely need to. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we come back, we're going to listen to some more audio and kind of
The best performing team requires the best workstations. What's the Scoot is brought to you by Office Furniture Reborn. Need desks, better office chairs, or just the right file cabinet? Office Furniture Reborn has a huge selection of colors and sizes to choose from. So drop by Office Furniture Reborn's huge showroom just off Pacific Highway in 217 or visit www.officefurniturereborn.com.
Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Chad doing today. You can follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Chris J. Burkhardt. And you can also go on to youtube.com right now, type in Rip City Radio, and follow the show there. Get the conversation going. Kirk wants to know when the last time Shaedon Sharpe got an alley-oop dunk was. I don't know. I don't know where that official status kept me. I'll have to look into that for you. Also getting some questions about the availability of Duop Reith. We will let you know as soon as we know he was listed as questionable last time we checked. All right, Scoot Henderson, it is time for What's the Scoot, and how's he been doing? Like, he has been looking real good, guys, real good. And it's all coming in the last handful of games where he's been the starter. Scoot Henderson on the season, 12 points, 12.4 points, if we want to be exact. 2.8 rebounds, 4.8 assists. Real good. Now, in the last 3 games where he's been inserted into that starting lineup, averaging 21.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal, and a block. Those are pretty good numbers. Small sample size, yes. But it's quite evident that he is playing very, very well given the starter minutes, right? And Chad and I have been arguing this for a very long time, that Scoot needs to be getting his 30-plus minutes per night. The nights where he was getting 20 minutes so that Malcolm Brogdon and Ant could get major run just weren't going to do it. He needs big minutes. And when they're giving him to him, the stats are showing out. Yes, he only had 17 points, and I used it. Only had 17 points against the Suns, but he was also the team's leading scorer, right? So nobody was having an easy night that night, and he was finding a way. And so when he's averaging 12 on the season, but over the last 3 that he's starting, he's averaging 21, that's impressive. So the question is, and we'll see, because there's a good chance that Ant plays tonight, and as soon as we get updated, we'll let you know live from Dallas what's going on. Got my notifications on, Twitter's ready to roll. But if Ant is a go, who do you start? Do you go Ant back to point guard where he's been, and Brogdon at the 2, where he's been playing next to Scoot? Or do you let Scoot stay there at point guard, throw Ant in at the 2, and let it roll? My opinion, you let it roll. Scoot, hey, you're doing great. Ant, I could put you anywhere, man. He has proven that he is very versatile, a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. He's going to go out and score. He doesn't have to be the point guard. I don't even know what he is. I just know he's a bucket getter, right? So go out there, let him play the 2, give Scoot his 30 minutes, and just let it roll. Not to mention, I want to see Scoot getting those minutes with the best shooter on the team, right? That would be good. That would be pretty good. And then that allows you to let Brogdon go back and play a little bit more point guard as the rotation guy off the bench. And Sharpe still gets his minutes at shooting guard. We know what Sharpe can be. And Sharpe still has a long way to go to fully develop what we need. But he's just been a little inconsistent right now, right? So I want to see what that Scoot Ant backcourt can do. I think it's a major, major misstep if Ant comes back healthy and they're like, all right, Scoot, you're going back to the bench. And with it, you're losing about 10 minutes a night. And Malcolm Brogdon's going to go get 32. And we're going to go lose to Dallas or whatever. And you don't get that complement of minutes because Scoot needs them because it's been really important to him. And his development has increased because of it. We saw what we felt like was a little bit of stagnation as he was coming off the bench. But when you put him in that starting role and just let him go, oh, man, I think you get the best of Scoot. I know there was people who were out on him early. I'm not one of them. I never was. I like the man. He's got to understand that he is completely different than anybody that's played that position for you or any of your guards really at all for the last decade. He's completely different than Damian Lillard. He's completely different than Anthony Simons. And he's completely different than CJ McCollum, right? So just let him go be him. Let him go be him. That's what I want to see. Now, Travi points out in the chat that I think Shea could be a good sixth man. His energy is really supportive bench man type rather than a starter. And that's an interesting take. I don't know if you're right or wrong, but I get it. I get it because we've talked about this all night. We've talked about this all season long. Like, where do you fit in this lineup if you have this logjam? Okay? Here's the thing. Scoot is playing like he's going to be a star. At least over these last 3 games, when you put him in as a starter, he is looking good. I have all the faith in him. I love his game. Really, really like him a lot. Ant, he's taken the jump, really. And I've always argued that I actually think he's closer to his ceiling than a lot of people. But he's done one thing this year that I didn't see before, and that is play with that swagger. A little bit of that edge and a little bit of that I can go be the number one guy. And I love that from him because he needs it. Because he's just more of a quiet, reserved dude. So I love seeing that from him. And if Sharp is more of a sixth man or a rotation guy and doesn't really develop into a true starter, that's fine too, because that gives you those rotation. The biggest problem is if all 3 of them are those starter types, and then you have to figure out what to do. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here because there's still a lot of unanswered questions that we all have to think about as it continues to develop. But I mean, which way do you go? You don't know. All I know right now is you need to find a way to keep Scoot in that starting lineup. From there on out, let the pieces fall where they may. But you got to get Scoot in there. He was the 3rd overall pick for a reason. Let him go. If it fizzles out and you find out that you were wrong, you were wrong. That whatever. Move on. Everyone has bad draft picks. It sucks, but it is what it is. But you need to find out. And the only way to do that, in my opinion, is throw him out there. And right now, when you throw him out there and test him, he's passing the test. He's playing well. Is he making mistakes? Sure. But he's a 19-year-old point guard in the NBA playing the highest level he's ever played. Now, if he plays tonight, watch Tamani Kamara. Because Tamani Kamara was a 2nd-round pick who was thrown in as part of this Damian Lillard trade. And what has the team done with him? Thrown him to the fire. Tested him at every single turn. If he's on the court tonight, who is he going to be manned up against? Luka Doncic. And if he's on the court on Friday, who's he going to be manned up against? Luka Doncic. And if he were on the court last game against the Suns, who would he have been guarding? Probably Bradley Beal because he was having the hottest night. And if Kevin Durant were on the floor, he has been thrown to the best player every single night and tested. And he's passed those tests to the point that everyone's fallen in love with that guy. And they should. They should. He's playing incredible. He's absolutely playing incredible. He's earned that level of respect and love and adoration that Blazer fans are giving him. Now, back to Scoot. Let's take a second to kind of rewind in our head, go back to Phoenix and hear what he had to say following that loss. And he ends up talking about his role on this team right now. Let's give it a listen.
Scoot, so just your thoughts on the game tonight. Obviously, a pretty good first quarter, kind of lost touch in the second quarter.
Yeah. I just been sitting here thinking about it the whole time, honestly. So I think our defensive intensity just continued to fall off, honestly. But especially after the first quarter, like I let up a bad cut. I just know my defensive focus wasn't there at times tonight, but it was there, sometimes. But that's how the game is. It's a game of runs, and I think Suns just won that battle of runs.
We've talked quite a bit lately about kind of the way you've been playing. I know in losses you don't really like to focus on kind of what you've done individually, but it does seem like things are coming together for you pretty quickly.
But
sure, but I know even more in wins or losses. Sure, you're a wins guy. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just doing what I should be doing, honestly. My job on this team is very specific. Push the pace, continue to just learn on defense, just continue to use my dog mentality that I got on defense and attack the paint and spray out and, just make sure I'm taking the right shots and feeding my teammates as well. So that's just what I'm doing, and it's just my team's hitting shots. I'm hitting my little shots that I usually hit. So I think the game is going to continue to slow down for me as I continue to get better. Repetition, like I keep telling y'all, repetition, it comes with reps. So
defensively, you talked about kind of the intensity. How would you say you guys are doing in terms of like being connected on the defensive end?
I think at times it's like, man, we could be the best defensive team in the NBA, and then at times it's like we're a whole different team. I think, Double R, all the coaches, they always, before we came out here at practice, it was find consistency, and I think that's what we have to do, and I think we will very soon, and I think we're going to look really, really good, especially when we get all our players back, and as they continue to, get better for us, and I think we'll be very solid.
I can only imagine it helps for you getting comfortable and knowing that Chauncey's going to be supporting you and the confidence in you. Yes. And if you make a mistake or two, then he's still going to let you play and figure it out. So I imagine that's huge.
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of our connection. But I just got to continue to stay confident when I do make mistakes. I know in the back of my head I'm like, messed up. Don't worry about it. Next one, next play. I think that's where I grew as a basketball player. Just focus on the next play, and then just lessening my turnovers and little things that can cause a bucket on the other end or whatever. So,
what would you attribute maybe to your drop in turnovers? Because it seems like they have gone down quite a bit lately.
Just me being aggressive. I think before I was just more passive, and when I'm aggressive, I open up shots for my teammates as well. So I just got to continue to keep getting downhill and use my speed, use my superpowers, and I think it just opened up for everybody.
Did he say use his superpowers? I love it. I absolutely love it. And when you listen to Scoot, as the chat is alluding to, love his mentality. We've had this talk over the last few weeks of who is the alpha on this team. And I don't know if they have that guy yet that is like the leader. They have a guy who's like your alpha guy who's going to go score buckets. Like that's Ant, right? I think they have like their alpha defender. That's Matisse. He's the best defender on this team. But do they have the alpha, the guy that when they walk into the locker room at halftime, they all look to wherever his locker is because they know that he's going to say something or motivate them and lead this team back out of the locker room to a victory? I mean, that was Dame, right? Scoot sounds like he's that guy. And it takes rookies a minute to fully get that respect of the whole locker room, and then they themselves feel comfortable enough to start being more vocal and walking up to a Jeremy or an Ant or saying, hey, we need to do this, right? Right now, what Scoot is to me sounds like a guy who has that in him, but is also a sponge. And he understands that this rookie year, when you're learning all this, you have to be the absolute best sponge possible. And then when it is time for you to raise your voice, to be that vocal leader, to be that alpha that you've talked about, you sucked in all that knowledge, and now you're not just speaking words, right? You're speaking directly to this team, and you know exactly what they want to hear, what they need to hear, and you're a leader of men. I love it. I love this kid's mentality, man. And kid, that's right. Not even legally old enough to drink yet. He's young, and he's got a head on his shoulders, let me tell you what. All right, Chris Burkhardt here. Blazers Game Day rolls on here in just a few minutes. We're going to take a break. When we return, we're going to head to the Coach's Corner. We heard from Scoot. Let's hear from Chauncey Billups. Hear what he had to say following that loss in Phoenix. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Chad, doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Time Jeep of Portland presents the Coach's Corner with Chauncey Billups. Time for a brand new ride from Time Jeep of Portland. You won't believe the huge deals they're offering. With over 300 new and used vehicles to choose from, you'll find the perfect ride for your new adventure at Time Jeep. Find us just minutes away from the Moda Center off I-84 or visit timejeep.com. Drive with time.
Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Chad Doing. Follow me on Twitter at Chris J. Burkhardt. You can join the conversation on YouTube. Go to Riv City Radio there and join the chat where people are popping off on their thoughts on Ant and Scoot. I got thoughts too. I'll get to those in a second. But first, let's go back to Phoenix, where Chauncey Billups talked to the team, talked to the media following the team's loss. Let's hear what he had to say.
Your thoughts on tonight's game?
I thought we had a really good first quarter. We came out with our intentions were great. We were focused on our game plan on both sides of the ball. We did a good job. You know, we took care of the ball. One turnover in the first quarter I thought was amazing because our prior game, we had 8 turnovers in the first quarter and they got out 36-20 on us. So boom, we rectified that, and then second quarter happened. You know, we had 8 turnovers in the quarter. They jumped out on us 35-18 in that quarter, and, you know, we didn't have enough. We couldn't score. You know, it was tough for us to score.
Would you chalk that up to what you guys weren't doing or what they were doing defensively, to personnel? I know you guys you're pretty thin right now.
I don't, you know me, man. I don't make excuses, man. You know, we every time we line up out there, no matter who's out there, you know, it's an NBA player and somebody that deserves the right to be here. So, you know, you can say who didn't play. I don't do that. I don't play that game. You know, we had enough. We had guys that, you know, were out there playing and playing their hearts out. We didn't play well enough to win.
Chauncey, you've been around long enough to see when something changes like that quickly. As a coach now, what can you do?
You know, you just start trying different lineups and different people. You know, we had Shea back tonight, but he was obviously on a minutes restriction. You know, he couldn't give you too much. You start changing defenses, see if you can get something going. I thought that young group we had out there at the start of fourth gave us some life, you know, but it was just, the hole was we dug a hole too deep for us to get out of against a good team.
Chauncey, now that he's had, I mean, it's been, I think, like 3 or 4 games now that Scoot's been starting. What have you thought about the way he's performed since in the starting lineup? And is it different at all from the way he was? I mean, he was already making some progress, but it seems like these last couple weeks, it really seems like he's kind of taking a different step.
He has. He's taken some important steps, you know, in his rookie year, in his process. He's starting to understand what's necessary on both sides of the ball for a guy, especially that's a point guard. You know, the demands on a point guard I've always thought are totally different than everybody else. And it's always tough for young guards to get that, you know. And he's starting to figure that part out, you know, and that's, to me, that's why he's played so well. The game is kind of coming to him now, and he's not having to go chase after it, you know, so much.
Do you feel like that's part of that is starting, or because it seems to me a bit that, like, he's just maybe a little more comfortable now than he was before. Like, you see him out there, like, he's putting up that little floater now, like before, like, I feel like he was doing stuff like that. Yeah,
I think we're saying the same thing, you know, and I don't think it has to do with starting, because when Scoot came back, we was bringing him off the bench and he was playing great. I just think now extended minutes, obviously, an extended opportunity with other guys out. Obviously, the numbers will change a little bit, but, man, since he's been back, I just think that Scoot is, he's continued to get better and better.
All right, there you hear Coach Billups with some high praise of Scoot Henderson, and I find it interesting what is elite, right? Because we have this debate right now. Do you start Scoot and Ant? Do you start Scoot and Shea? Do you start Ant and Shea? And everyone comes from different camps, right? And I am of the camp that I like Ant and Scoot next to each other. At least I want to see how that plays out in the long run. But then there's others who prefer Ant and want him in the point guard role as much as possible, like in our YouTube chat saying, Fun P, if that is your real name, says Scoot's awesome. But the fact is Simons is elite at the point guard position. Scoot hasn't shown an elite level yet. But I think there's a small chance he could be that elite level. But this is Ant's team. And I find that interesting because, again, what is elite? Like, are you an elite point guard because you can score? Okay, we know Ant can score. So, yeah, I think he's an elite scorer. But a point guard has to run an offense, too. And how many times has Anthony Simons in his career, how many times in 284 games has Anthony Simons had 10 or more assists? How many times? I'll save you the work. Twice. Both of them in the 2022 season. Both of them about a week apart from each other in January. He had 11 assists against Brooklyn, 11 assists against Washington. So he's done it twice in 284 games. How many times has Scoot Henderson had 10 or more assists in 23 career games? Three. And being able to pass like that, that's an elite level point guard right there. 11 assists twice already. That's how many Ant has in his entire career. So is Ant an elite point guard in the way that we think of old school point guards? No. Is he an elite scoring guard? I think the answer is probably yes. We've seen it. 40-point nights, 20-point nights where he can't miss a bucket. One of the best catch and shoot guys in the league. But scoring is not everything, right? Scoring is not everything. Like I said, would you rather have a guy drop, 10 points? Or, excuse me, would you rather have a guy drop 20 points and 10 assists? Or 10 points and 20 assists? Those assists add up, man. They add up. 11 assists is at minimum, 22 points. At minimum. Not to mention if you get that assist on an and one, or you get threes in there. Those add up. Those add up quickly. So, do I think Scoot Henderson has shown elite level? Yeah. I think he has. Because to have 3 10-assist games in your 23 career games, he's showing that he knows how to pass the ball. Absolutely. Does that mean, Fun P, does that mean that I think Ant is not elite? Oh, heck no. I like Ant. I like Ant, especially what I've seen from Ant this year. But if Ant is already an elite scorer and you have a guy who is an elite passer, why not put the two together? Because give the elite passer someone to pass to who can hit that bucket with consistency. And I do like the YouTube chat because it makes me laugh because as Fritz points out, Ant's never mentioned his superpowers. Funny stuff. That one made me laugh. Good work. If you want to join the chat and give me talking points and make everybody laugh just like Kirk and the Fritz and Travi are right now, go on over to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. You can join the chat there, or you can call in 503-248-0620. I guarantee nothing, though. I have all the power. Do I put you on? I might, but I might not. But you can guarantee your chat will be in there if you go chat. Chris Burkhardt here. We're going
Godfather, here we are. Another year has come and gone. Just think of all the games we've watched, all the radio shows, and the time spent together. I can't believe how quickly it goes by.
I love the new year. A fresh start, a time to throw out the old and bring in the new.
Hey, now, you don't have to throw everything out. I'm a good friend. You can't replace me.
Well, okay, I'll keep you. More like get rid of the habits and stuff that don't bring value to your life.
And work towards having the best life you can.
Comfort.
Welcome back to Blazers Gameday. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Chad Doing, and it is time for your scoreboard report. Well, unfortunately, not a lot of scores to get to, because this is what happens when you have one of the early games. Because that's right, Portland is in Dallas tonight. But I will get you up to date on the games that are going to go down tonight across the association. First off, tipping off in about 10 minutes, you got the Washington Wizards at the Cleveland Cavaliers. You also have the Bucks, who are 24-9, quietly one of the best teams in the league after some early struggles trying to acclimate Dame to the lineup. They are in Indiana to take on the Pacers. The hot Oklahoma City Thunder are in Atlanta to take on the Hawks. At 5 o'clock, the Brooklyn Nets tip off in Houston against the Rockets. The Raptors in Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. The Pelicans in Minnesota to take on the surprising 24-8 Minnesota Timberwolves. At 5:30, the Bulls take on the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden. Your Portland Trail Blazers are in Dallas taking on the Mavs. At 6 o'clock, Clippers in Phoenix to take on the Suns. Detroit looks to improve to 4-30, taking on the Jazz in Utah. And at 7 o'clock, you got Miami taking on the Lakers in Los Angeles. And the end cap for the night, the Orlando Magic in Sacramento to prevent a lighting of the beam as they take on De'Aaron Fox and the Sacramento Kings. Chris Burkhardt here on Blazers Game Day, getting you ready for the matchup tonight. As we just mentioned, Portland in Dallas to take on the Mavericks, and it's going to be a tall task. It's going to be a tall task to take down the Mavericks. Blazers played them twice already this season, and that was games at Moda Center. And Portland didn't look too great in those two matchups. There was a 131-120 victory for the Mavs and a 125-112 victory for the Mavs as well. Luka Doncic grabbed a 32-point, 10 assists, 6 rebound game in one. And in the other game, 40 points, 10 assists, 12 rebounds. So he is averaging, about 36 points, 10 assists, and 8 rebounds a game against the Portland Trail Blazers right now. So he is going to be absolutely tough to beat. He and the Mavericks. And it's going to be a game as you will figure out health status of everybody here shortly. But you got to get everybody involved for you offensively. And then you got to do your best to make sure those role players for Dallas don't hurt you, because they are the type of team that, yeah, we know Luka's going to go get his, but you got to prevent the other guys from having big games. In that 131-120 loss, Tim Hardaway Jr. hit 5 threes, scored 25 points. He had 18 points each from Derek Jones Jr., former Blazer great, and Dante Exum as well. In the game that Luka Doncic scored 32 points to lead the Mavericks to victory, Exum chipped in another 23. Hardaway chipped in 20. All 5 Dallas starters were in double figures. Even Kyrie, who only played 13 minutes before injuring his leg. So, yeah, you gotta stop the other guys from beating you, because if they get hot, you're in for a long night. You're absolutely in for a long night. It's like when you take on Denver, right? You know Jokic is going to get hot. You know Jokic is going to get his. So you got to force Jamal Murray to beat you, right? You got to force Michael Porter to beat you. Blazers did it for a while too. You knew Dame was going to get hot, so you had to force Al-Farouq Aminu and CJ McCollum and Anthony Simons and Yusuf Nurkic to beat you. And on the nights where everybody was firing and everyone was hitting, those nights were fun, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, everybody's on fire and we got Dame. This is a great night. So it's kind of the recipe, right? You got a snake, you got to cut it off its head. Luka Doncic is the head of that team. But then you got to be careful, because even if you try to attack the head, what happens? You ever see the videos, like a snake, a rattlesnake? You hear the stories, still bite you. If you focus, like you got to understand that that's how dangerous Luka is. Even if you're not paying attention, done. You got to force the rest of the team to beat you, man. Got to force the rest of the team to beat you. That means you just got to play good defense too. You can't just say, oh, that's Tim Hardaway Jr. That's not Luka. We're going to let him have a wide open 3. He'll bury him. So that's the tough task tonight, especially if Tamani Kamara isn't playing again, because that gives you one less great defender that you've had this year. And it's just, what are you going to do then? What are you going to do then? Hope everyone is healthy and ready to go. We'll get updates on that shortly. Haven't seen anything coming out of Dallas yet, but should hear here in just a little bit. Game does tip off at 5:30. Blazers Game Day with Chad Dewing filling in for Mike Lynch today. He will be on at 4:30. But I mean, that's really simple. That's pretty much how they're going to beat this team, or at least stay in it. Watch the other guys, force them to beat you. If they can have off nights, then you're going to have another 50-point performance from Luka. And of course, he has it in him, but it's also going to take a lot out of him to get there. It's going to be fun to watch him, though, right? Isn't it fun watching Luka, even in defeat? You've lost to him twice. He's fun. Was it his rookie year or his second year when he hit the buzzer beater, towing the line in the corner at Moda Center? Dude's just great. Dude's great. He has been my early season pick for MVP. I think he's been unstoppable. If Dallas was just a little bit better overall, right? They're only 19-15 on the season. Yes, they're in the playoff hunt, but currently would be in the play-in as a 7th seed. If they were better, if they were in the top 4, Luke would be getting a lot of MVP love. A lot of MVP love. Right now, it's just the usual suspects, right? Jokic, Embiid, Giannis. Miami Heat fan probably thinks Jaime Jaquez is in the MVP conversation. Him or Tyler Hero. Heck, maybe both. You never know. But for my money right now, it's definitely Luka. I think he's been absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we return, It'll be time for Coors Cold Hard Facts. And we'll continue to break down this game, kind of get you ready for Blazers versus Mavericks. And, of course, we still have our keys to the game. We'll look back at some of those previous games again and really dive into what we think Portland needs to do to sneak out of Dallas on night one with a victory. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
620 Rip City Radio, KPOJ, Portland, and iHeart Radio station. You want the truth? It's time for the Coors Light Cold Hard Facts, presented by Frost Brewed Coors Light, made to chill.
All right, it's Blazers Game Day here. We're getting you ready for the Dallas Mavericks versus the Portland Trailblazers over there in Dallas, Texas, where Luka Doncic and co. will be a tall task for the Blazers to overcome. But before we get into that game and hand off to Chad Doing for the pregame show, got to give you a couple cold, hard facts. I'm going to say fact number one. Oh, man, it's going to be a rough night because Luka Doncic is really, really good, and he kind of has the Blazers number. As I said, he's averaging roughly, 36 points, 10 assists, 8 boards. Yeah, he's basically averaging a triple-double in his 2 games against the Blazers this year. He's basically doing it on the year as a whole. You're looking at a guy who's top 5 in the league in scoring, top 5 in the league in assists. And, in fact, you look at the breakdown of Mavs versus Blazers, and I find this one interesting because, let's see, the Blazers' top scorer, who's that? Oh, yeah, that's Jeremy Grant, 22 points per game. Team's leading rebounder, he's not playing right now, but DeAndre Ayton at 10.8. And for the season as a whole, although Scoot has been really good the last handful of games, the team's leader in assists is Malcolm Brogdon. For the Dallas Mavericks, the leaders in points, rebounds, and assists are all the same guy. Luka Doncic with 33.4 points, Luka Doncic with 8.3 rebounds, and Luka Doncic with 9.4 assists. He's a bucket getter, a rebound getter, and a dime dropper. He's having an incredible year. Like I said, he's my pick for MVP. MVP doesn't always have to be the best player on the best team, right? It can be just the guy I do not want my team to have to face. And quite honestly, right now, that's Luka Doncic. That's Luka Doncic. Another fact for you is one that I've said before, but I'm going to continue to say it again until all the naysayers believe me. And that is Scoot Henderson is getting better. He is getting better. He is improving every single game right now. Even the game where the box score said it was a rough night, you are seeing improvement from this man. It's great to see. The passes are coming. The game is slowing down. He's starting to score. And while the shots aren't following, he's taking them with confidence. As Chauncey alluded to or was asked about in the post-game press conference after the Phoenix game, like, yeah, he's starting to take shots that maybe you didn't expect him to take. Or that he's showing a little more confidence, right? The little floater. It's incredible. It's great to see. It's great to see because he has such lofty expectations that it's so easy to say that he is not living up to them. I think he is because I think it's unfair to put those expectations day one on a 19-year-old whose only experience was in the G League, right? Just let him cook, man. He's going to be just fine. He's going to be fine. I love what I'm seeing from him. And another fact for you tonight is this one's another interesting one, and this isn't about either of these games. It's just about the Western Conference as a whole. And Chet Holmgren's getting some conversation going in our YouTube chat right now, and that's my fact right now. The Oklahoma City Thunder are real, guys. They're for real. They are for real. And it's interesting because I saw someone pointing out on Twitter today about, Oklahoma City, they're like one player away from being like a legit contender. And it's like, well, that's not even respectful to the Oklahoma City Thunder because they're out here right now playing at an elite level at 23 wins, 9 losses, the second best record in the Western Conference right now. Also would be the 4th best record by win percentage in the entire NBA, just behind the Timberwolves, Bucks, and the Celtics. They are for real. First off, they have Chet Holmgren, who I know our guy Chad doesn't like, right? But when he's healthy, he changes the game. And right now, to this point, probably, there's a conversation to be had, but might be the favorite for Rookie of the Year. He's been really good. They also have a guy who is very well a top 5 player in this league and only getting better, which is scary, in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's an incredible guard. He can pass the ball. He can shoot the ball, scores with ease, great length, good defender. They got it. They got a good team down there. So watch out, because I thought Oklahoma City was going to finally turn the corner and be good. I had them as a playoff team in my head. Minnesota, I called last year that I liked the Rudy Gobert trade when no one else did, because I thought you could move Cat to center, play them both, go Twin Towers on people, and I got called all sorts of names for thinking like that. Oh, you're an idiot, Burkhardt. Yeah, well, it's working out pretty well right now for them. I had them as a playoff team. Did not have either one of these teams as the top 2 in the West. So kudos to both of them. Like, Denver's playing elite basketball too, and they're 3rd in the West, and it's no fault of their own. It's just that's how good Oklahoma and Minnesota have been right now. Which just sounds so weird. It sounds weird to utter Oklahoma and Minnesota, and you're not talking about one of like the worst games in the conference is going on tonight. The Timberwolves are heading down to Oklahoma City. Each team looking to be finally pick up their 5th win of the year in what has been a rough year for both the Timberwolves and the Thunder. Nope. These two are incredible right now. I mean, the fact that like the Eastern Conference is playing out exactly how we thought it would, right? Who the top three teams in the West when everyone predicted who were going to be the top teams in the West. It was some order of Boston, Milwaukee, and Philly. For me, it was Milwaukee, Boston, then Philly. Some people had, I think I had Indiana probably as my 4th. I had Miami as about a 5th or 6th. Miami's playing good right now because Spo's great. They're in 4th. But it's playing out exactly like you thought it would. The top 3 teams are the top 3 teams. Everyone else who is going to be in contention's in contention. The Detroit Pistons are the worst team in the history of the sport. We all knew that. But the debate all offseason long, who's the best team in the West? Chad asked me. Oh, it's the Denver Nuggets. It's the Denver Nuggets. They were toying with people at the beginning of the year. Who do you think the second best team in the West is, Burkhardt? I think it's Phoenix. I think they're going to put it together. A good team. Kevin Durant. They got Bradley. It's Phoenix. Yeah, where's Phoenix right now? They're 8th in the West. 8th. Who's 3rd best team? Oh, well, yeah, they don't have Ja, but Memphis is really good. Yeah, Memphis struggled mightily without Ja. In fact, I think, as someone pointed out, if they finish in the playoffs, maybe Ja is an MVP candidate because that shows how important he is. No one expected Oklahoma City and Minnesota to be at the top. And right now, everyone's waiting for him to slip. Oh, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. But as Fritz pointed out in the YouTube chat, there's not much time left. We're almost at the halfway point of the year. We are almost at the halfway point of the year. And the Oklahoma City Thunder have as many losses as the Blazers do wins. 9. It's incredible what Oklahoma City and Minnesota are doing right now. They're for real, guys. That's a fact. They're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. If they I love it. I love the fact, too, that Minnesota's doing this, and their starting guards, Mike Conley, who might be one of the more, I'm not going to say underrated, but maybe underappreciated guards of his generation. All he's ever been is good. And he's getting rewarded because the team, I mean, hey, Memphis played well with him. Utah played well with him. Now Minnesota's playing well with him. Now, if you would have told me back in 2007, 2008, that in the year 2024, the star from Ohio State who would still be in the league and important piece of the best team in the Western Conference would be Mike Conley and not Greg Oden, I would have called you a liar. I would have called you a liar. But here we are. History's incredible, isn't it? Mike Conley's doing great. Minnesota has themselves a ball club. It's crazy. All right, plenty of conversation going on in the chat. Everyone getting off their topics. I can't catch all the way up, but I'll try eventually. That's what commercial breaks are for. But if you want to get in on the chat with, look, we got Gary in here, Travie, Fritz, who's everywhere. He even chats when the show's not on, when the chat gets left on. Go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. You guys can join the chat there. Make sure to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, it's going to be time for the keys to the game, and then I'm going to kick it on over to my boss, who's filling in for Mike Lynch today. Chad Doing's going to have your Blazer pregame show at 4:30, and then, of course, Blazers taking on the Dallas Mavericks at 5:30, right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
It's time for Chad Doing's Keys to the Game, brought to you by Gresham Toyota. At Gresham Toyota, we stand behind our commitment to have the best Toyota pricing in Oregon with our Swickard Price Promise.
Welcome back in to Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Chad Doing, and it is time for our keys to the game. And key number one for me, get the rock moving, find the open shooters, and take control of that ball. Okay, we'll get to turnovers in a second, but I want to see assists. Assists matter for this team. They averaged 22 and a half on the year. When they lost to Phoenix and they only scored 88 points, they fell below that average at 21. That's why it's an average. Sometimes you're below, sometimes you're above. That's the average, what falls right in the middle. When they beat San Antonio, they had 28, far outpacing their average. This team is obviously, like most teams, better when they share the rock and get buckets via the assist. So get the ball moving. Also, in that kind of same category, get the ball moving, but take care of the ball at the exact same time. Easier said than done, but the Portland cannot afford to have 17 turnovers in 3 quarters, which is what happened against Phoenix. They had just one in the first, and then it unraveled from there. So take care of the rock, easy assists, want to see it happen. Also, I think in this one, get the three-point shot falling. You live by it, you die by it, right? Blazers in that loss to the Suns shot just 26.7 from deep. Now, Dallas is not an elite three-point shooting team by any means, but they do like to take a lot of them, right? They average 41.9, which is the second most attempts. They make 15.3, which is the second most makes. That's a big number, right? That should lead to a lot of winning, but they shoot 36.5, which is middle of the road. That is the bottom half of the league in three-point percentage, right? Take a lot, they make a lot, but they don't shoot it with efficiency, right? So if you're going to force them to take any shot, just let them go out there. Put a hand in their face, make it hard, but understand that they're going to die by that shot just as much as they live by it. And if you can get a couple of yours to fall, you can outpace this Dallas Mavericks team. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Chad Doing. As I said, you can follow me on Twitter at Chris J. Burkhardt, where you can continue the conversation with me all night long, all during the game. Do what you need to do. And shout out to the YouTube chatters, especially Gray, not Gary. Gray Hughes investigates. Hopefully I read that right. I told him, you try reading a YouTube chat and talking at the same time when you don't have your glasses on. I'm on YouTube. Y'all can see me squinting, struggling to see that little fine print that they put over there. Where's my option to increase the font size so I can see it? So there you are. I told him to try. He said he's not going to try. He's not doing a show. That's fair. Call me out, though. Call me out, Gray. That's the only way that I know that I messed up. I apologize. I got to get these things right. You guys are the loyal listeners, the chatters, and the followers. So shout out to all of you. And if you want to join, like I said, the conversation, man, youtube.com, Rip City Radio, type it in, like, share, subscribe, get involved with the conversation, have some fun. Now, I said I would give you some updates. Here are the latest updates via Casey Holdall, who has said that a couple of them here. First off, he said, good sign Anthony Simons went through his usual pregame workout. Then he said Anthony Simons, Tumani Kamara, and Duop Reith are available for tonight's game. Moses Brown is out for tonight's game. Blazers starters, this is something we talked about. It is official. Blazers starters tonight. Ant, Scoot, Tumani, Jeremy, and Ibu Baji, which is interesting since Duop Reith is a go. But I do like the move there because you do want to get that center rotation shored up, and that's going to give you a little bit of scoring punch coming off the bench, which does make sense if you're the Blazers. Also, Casey adds that Ant, Shaden, and Duop are all on minutes restrictions, so that plays in to that as well. But this is something we talked about, right? Wanting to see Scoot and Ant play next to each other, see how that goes. If Ant's healthy, can you afford to put Scoot back on the bench, at least for one game? The answer is no. The answer is no tonight. So that's exciting. That's exciting. So I want to see how those two play together. We haven't got to see it enough. But tonight you're going to get to see it. You get an elite passer with an elite shooter. That's going to be nice. You get Duop Reith back, which is going to give you, like I said, a little bit of a scoring punch off that bench. I mean, that 25.9 rebound performance he had against Sacramento, I believe it was, that was fun. That was fun. And in this season of a lot more losses than wins, there are still times where you got to just take it in and enjoy the moment, right? And understand what it means to be a fan of a team. You love them during their best times and you love them during their worst times, right? And I'll tell you this about the Blazers. It may be a bad season, but this is nowhere near their worst times. This team's easy to love right now, especially when they go out there and hustle their tails off, which is what they've been doing. So tonight's going to be a fun one. You're going to get to see Ant and Scoot next to each other. You're going to get to see a little dose of Shaden Sharp in there as well. And then, of course, Duop Reith with Ibu Baji getting his first start. And that's fun to see, too. You'd love to see a guy like Baji get rewarded for fighting his way up, right? Coming in, two-way player, gets an opportunity, and he's played well. He's played well. Again, we're not going to get over our skis here like, oh, Baji needs to be the next starting center. Or this guy's a legit rotation guy. Get him in. No, he's your fourth center, maybe your third, if you decide to put him over Moses Brown on your depth chart on a fully healthy team right now, right? Maybe even lower than that if you consider Jabari Walker a center, which he is your small ball center, right? But due to injuries and all this stuff, he has been asked to play minutes that he honestly didn't think he was going to have coming into this. And he's done them well. He's played about as well as you can expect. Yeah, are they only 6.6 rebound performances? Yeah. But you didn't expect him to put in there and be Shaq, right? Or be DeAndre Ayton even, or be a Yusuf Nurkic. I just love it. You had an opportunity, and you take advantage. And you have a little bit of fun while doing it. I think it's why fans love him. Let's see. Kirk is happy Tamani's playing, helps his fantasy team. I love how Kirk always comes in the chat. See, that's why you need to get in the chat. The chat's awesome. Got a nice little community over there where Kirk's always asking me for health updates because he needs to know if he can start Ayton or not. But Duop playing, so that's going to help him a little bit tonight. And so, yeah, it's going to be a fun game. And back to, like, the keys, right? We talked about how you got to make the other players on Dallas beat you. I think you also got to find ways to just obviously make it difficult for Luka, okay? In that loss, Dallas's last game, they went into Utah and got hammered 127-90. And in large part, it was because, A, Utah did a good job making sure nobody else in the lineup was going to just absolutely tear you apart. And secondarily, Luka Doncic had an off night. 6 of 20 shooting, 3 of 13 from deep. He did have 14 assists, which is nice, but he only had 19 points. Only doesn't sound weird, right? It should sound weird when you say only 19 because he averages about 35, right? So you held him far below his average. No one else in the lineup truly beat you. You had, 14 from Kyrie Irving, 10 from Lively, and that's the recipe. That's the recipe. Make sure Luka doesn't hit shots. And just don't let anyone else completely tear you apart. Seems pretty simple, but it's classic. Easier said than done, Burkhardt. Easier said than done. To Gray, not Gary, Kirk, Fritz, Lisa, Travi,